back to Davin Biology. 欢迎回来 Davin Biology. Hope you're doing well for your SBM paper so far. And by the way, 新年快乐, Happy Chinese New Year. Now, as promised previously, that I'll be doing a state paper with you all before your SBM, right? And I picked up SBP paper lah. Basically, I will split this into two-part video, whereby part 1, which you're watching right now, will be section A, and then part 2 will be your essay lah, section B, section C, which I will upload that video probably maybe after your chemistry exam, or right before your chemistry, depending lah when I complete the video lah. Okay. So now, why do I pick this video? Listen to me first, because most of the topics here they came out, or most of the chapters here are pretty close to what most teachers predict, and me myself as well. In SBM, right, a chapter will not be absent for usually more than 2 years. With 3 years in a row, won't be absent for 3 years. So these most topics here, right, for the past 2 years didn't come out already, which means this year has very, very high chance. Now, when I say high chance, it's just high chance. So it's not like 100% sure confirm. So this is not like a prediction video. I just do this video, of course, to help you SBM students that are taking biology. I hope you understand, right? So let's not waste time and straight away get into the first question. Now the first question, Form 5, Chapter 2, leaf structure, about the leaf lah, basically, which the main topic for this chapter is actually photosynthesis lah. So let's straight away the first one. So the first one is the leaf internal structure cross-section, whereby they ask name cell X. So in the leaf, right, cell X and this leaf, these two are the most important one, I would say, because they are the main cells involved in photosynthesis. So the X one, this one is called palisade lah, mesophyll cell. Don't forget the cell. And then this one will be the spongy mesophyll cell. So spongy, they're like sponge like that. Okay. Now for X, like this palisade, right? Now how I remember the name of this cell, right? Okay, the story is a bit lame lah, but it works for most people lah. So now these cells, right, they all are like a group of cells that take public transport home at 6 p.m. So at 6 p.m, usually public transport very cramped. So you can see they are literally all very cramped together. That's why they're all very sad, no? That's why it's palisade mesophyll. Now next one, name one organelle is found abundantly in cell X. Now palisade mesophyll, right, mainly absorbs sunlight. So to absorb sunlight, you need to have a lot of chloroplast. Now not chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is a substance inside the organelle chloroplast. So when you ask organelle, chloroplast, not chlorophyll, remember. Okay. Next one, true importance of organelle in A2 to green plants. Standard law of this one. So it's of course to absorb light energy. So for the second point, instead of just saying So for the second point, instead of just saying by photosynthesis, you can say convert what energy to what energy. So photosynthesis is always convert light to chemical, which is energy that living things can use. So you can say to absorb energy and convert light energy into chemical energy through photosynthesis. Okay. Now, if you want to write down the answers, you can pause the video and then write down lah. So I will just keep going lor. Alright, next one. Most leaves seen as green in color. Explain why. Now, the reason why leaves are green is because of the chloroplast. Inside, you have the green pigment called chlorophyll. And for this question only, we say chlorophyll. So chlorophyll is the main component inside the chloroplast that makes the leaf green. So you can, number one, you must say because it has chlorophyll. Chlorophyll reflects green color light. That's why we will see leaves to appear as green color. Because sunlight, you know, right, have all the 7 colors of the rainbow. But when we shine onto the leaf, right, why do we see green color? Because the chlorophyll only reflects the green color. The other colors are mainly being absorbed lah. Yeah, easy, something like that lah. Okay, so next one, Form 4 Chapter 3. Form 4 Chapter 3, I think last year will come out already, but still it's a very common topic lah, so we just practice. Now, they ask 2.1 shows sucrose solution with a different concentration. They are separated with a selectively permeable membrane, and you can see here is 30% sucrose, here is 10% sucrose solution. So I let you think about which one is hypo, which one is hypertonic, and where the water molecules will diffuse from where to where. Okay, we do a bit of exercise lah, so you think a bit first. Now, so of course 30% sucrose, you have more concentration. So this is hypertonic law. So this lower concentration, more water, so this is definitely hypo. So remember, hypo is hippo. Hippo, the animal, likes water. So more water is always hypotonic law. So in the end, water will of course diffuse in this direction lah. Okay, so the first question, very general question. Who is a solvent, who is a solute? So by now, you should know this really lah. Solvent is always water, and solute is the substance dissolved in the solution, which in this case is your sucrose. Okay. Now, in diagram 2, draw arrow to show direction of move of water molecule that will occur, which we already done that. Okay, more water always flow to less water, hypo to hypertonic. Done. Moving on. So this is the so-called, what is it called? Produce the fresh water from seawater punya method, which is, they ask you here, name the technique used. So the technique here is called reverse osmosis. So reverse osmosis is basically filter water. Like, okay, the next question they go ask you lah, explain the role of the membrane in desalination process. Okay, so I will use this question to explain the process. So basically what they do here is, right, they'll have a U tube, like a U-shaped tube, not the U tube that you're watching now. So in between here, they'll put this so-called selectively permeable membrane. Did they mention here? Or here, the membrane. Okay, so this membrane is selectively permeable, whereby it only allows small molecules to pass through. So basically at one side, right, they will have seawater. So seawater inside a lot of salt, a lot of germs, a lot of sand and dirty stuff inside here. So what they will do here is, right, they will like exert pressure on the seawater and push it through this membrane. Now since this membrane is selectively permeable, only small molecules, which are water molecules, can pass through this membrane. Understand? So that's why the water that come out here will be pure, fresh water that you can drink. Now, all the salt, all the germs, microorganisms, they cannot pass through because they are too big to pass through this membrane. So by now you should know that a selectively permeable membrane only allows small molecules to pass through. So first you can say, this membrane here is selectively permeable, right? The characteristics of the membrane first. Now a lot of you ask, teacher, can I write semi-permeable? Now this is a very gray area kind of thing because it's better to follow textbook lah. Okay, I've seen people get wrong before in school exam when you write semi-permeable, so better write selectively permeable. This one confirm sure correct. So this membrane, like I say, only allows what molecule? Water molecule to pass through, but it prevents larger molecules like salt mainly and microorganisms in your seawater to diffuse through it. So that's how you produce fresh water through this so-called reverse osmosis. Now moving on to the next question. This is a Form 5 chapter 7. So quite a hot plant topic for this year as well, but not as higher chance than compared to Form 5 chapter 2 because Form 5 chapter 2 years didn't come out. So Form 5 chapter 7 2 years ago came out, 2021. Last year didn't come out, so this year small chance. Now this chapter is about different adaptation of plants according to different habitats, which we have 4 habitats lah. So this one you can see they ask you to classify the plant based on its habitat. This is of course xerophyte. So xerophyte meaning plants that have zero water. So they grow in very dry places like desert. So the most common example is cactus. So other than cactus, you also have like aloe vera, they are kind of cactus as well. And you have those succulent plants, and also you have pineapple. Now pineapple actually, if you think about it, they grow in very dry sand places, something like desert, quite hot also. Okay, the places they grow are actually very hot, and also they have xerophyte characteristics. Their leaves, for example, right, have a lot of thorns. So it's something like the cactus punya thorns. And since they grow in very dry areas, right, their roots are also like cactus. They penetrate deep into the soil to find water. So that's why they are actually xerophyte. Now, other than xerophyte, I also revised with you what the other 3 plants that we have here, which are hydrophyte. So hydrophyte, these are plants that grow in water, a lot of water like the hydrilla, the lotus. The next you have halophyte, which are plants that grow in salt water. Basically, they are mangrove. And the most common one we have are Mesophytes. So mesophytes are basically the plants you see around you. Now these are plants that have what we call as adequate water supply. Sunlight also not too much, not too little, meaning condition is fine. So the most common mesophyte are basically trees, grass, and also rainforest kind of plants lah. Okay, so the next one here, what is the kingdom? Now this suddenly they jump to Form 5 Chapter 8. So kingdom basically are the category that classify living things. So these are of course plantae, humans are animalia. And next one, compare the adaptive characteristics of plant X with mangrove plant. So remember, whenever they ask comparison question, so I mentioned this many times for those who follow my class, compare, actually the English is a bit cha-cha lah, see, compare adaptive characteristics, not comparison. But anyways, compare meaning you need to have both similarities and difference. Don't just write similarities and don't just write difference. If you just write 3 difference, 3 similarities, right, you won't score 3 marks, so you must have 2, 1. Either 2 similarities, 1 difference, or the other way around. Vice versa lah, huh? So let's talk about difference first. Similarities first, sorry. Now, both of these plants, they have thick succulent leaves. Because mangrove plants, right, they grow at those kind of shore, beaches, which they also exposed to a lot of sunlight. So, very hot as well. So their leaves, just like xerophyte plants, need to have thick succulent, need to be thick and succulent, sorry, to reduce, or to store more water actually. This is to store water. So succulent means like very thick, very juicy, you can store water. The next one, just like every single leaf actually have cuticle. Cuticle is the waxy layer on top of the leaf to reduce transpiration, to reduce water loss. That here I explained for you, to reduce transpiration rate, or you can say to reduce water loss lah. And the last one, the difference, right? Now you can talk about their roots. Xerophyte, their roots are long and wide, which go deep into the soil. But for mangrove, as you know, right, different mangrove species have different kind of special roots. So for this one, you can mention X has roots that grow widely, which are the kind of roots that we explain for xerophytes. And for mangrove, you can name the example kind of roots. So you just pick one that you like. So pneumatophos, you can say prop roots. You also can say buttress roots. So that is the difference law. Two similarities, one difference over here. Moving on. Now, the plantation area of plant X is facing continuous haze. Predict the size of fruit produced by plant. Explain your answer. Now, whenever they ask how haze affect plants growth, now you always can relate this to photosynthesis, because when it's hazy, it's like there's a lot of fog, right? You experienced this before, right? So there will be, number one, low light intensity. No light, no photosynthesis, no growth, basically. Now, other than that, you also can talk about haze has a lot of dust, which will block the stomata of the leaf, and then basically reduce gases exchange. So lesser carbon dioxide, lesser photosynthesis, lesser growth. But since this is just a 2 marks question, we can stick to just sunlight photosynthesis. So easy. So we can say haze reduces light intensity available for plants. So therefore, rates of photosynthesis in plant X decreases. Rata. And the main point, let's see for the last one here, the size will decrease. So growth of plant X decreases and causing size to be smaller. Okay, easy as that. Now, next one. This is quite important for this year. Form 4, Chapter 14. The movement and support chapter, the bones chapter lah, basically. 2 years didn't come out already, so this is the 3rd year, which very high chance lah, basically. Now, this is joints. They are focusing on joints and bones and muscle lah for this question. Human joints and human bones lah, of course. Name J and K. So J is that soft tissue that connects muscle to bones. So that's your tendon. K is the biggest bone in your body, FYI. This is your femur, which is your thigh punya bone, your leg thigh, your big thigh punya bone. That's it. Now state the function of J. So tendons, generally, they connect your muscle to your bone. That's why your muscle can stick to your bone. That's number one. And number two, because of that tendons, right, you are able to move your bone together with your muscle. Because tendon, it acts like a string that connects the muscle to the bone. So whenever your muscle pulls, the tendon will be pulled and subsequently pulls the bone and causing the bone able to move as well. So that's the next thing I would say lah. Right, 2 marks connects bone to muscle to bone actually, and therefore transmits pulling force from the muscle to the bone. Because whenever muscle moves, the bone's being pulled together lah. Next. The athlete falls during running and causes J to tear, tendon to tear. Very sakit lah. Explain how this situation affects the movement of the athletes. So number one, you always can start by saying what will happen first. So the question, explain what will happen. So explain, save it for the second point, because usually this part will be easier to answer. So of course, you cannot move patah already. So meaning your muscle cannot pull the bone, and definitely you feel pain. So you can say you feel painful, and basically you cannot move, unable to bend. The reason is because you cannot transmit the pulling force. So imagine like you tie a string to an object, you pull off it, the string patah. So whenever you pull, only the string moves, but not the object. So that's the next thing you're gonna say. You cannot transmit pulling force, cannot be pulled. The bone cannot be pulled, the object cannot be pulled. Understand? Now differentiate joint I and joint L. So joint I, this joint over here, and joint L, they are here. So basically, the two types of freely movable joint we have are ball and socket, and also the hinge joint. So this is ball and socket. So ball and socket generally we only learn two kinds, which is your shoulder and your hip. So this joint, ball and socket, so it allows your joint to like rotate 360 degrees. And this hinge, so hinge is like the door hinge. So this one only allows like what, 90 degrees movement only, like your elbow, your fingers, and your knees. So for this one mark only, you actually can just name the joint. Okay, so you can say joint, I, what joint here? Ball and socket is ball and socket. Joint, wow. Sorry. Wow, joint L is hinge. Okay, I give you one more point. You can talk about the movement. So this will be like the second point, like if they ask two marks mean a difference, which is ball and socket will say move in all direction. So joint I moves in all direction. Wow. Joint L only allows movement in one plane. So one plane is 90 degrees 90 degrees lah. So that's me one plane. Understand? The next one, this is Form 5, Chapter 5. This is a response, plant response punya chapter. Also, plant hormones are the main thing they like to ask. Now, this one 2 years ago came out, last year it came out, so also small chance for this one. Never mind, we can just practice as well. Now, A1, neanderthal response shown by the shoots. So there's light. So this is very simple. It's definitely photo, trapezium. State the importance of response named to the chili seed. So phototropism only got one use lah. I mean one importance, which is basically let the plant grow to the sunlight so you can absorb sunlight. What else plant uses sunlight for? Photosynthesis law. Okay, so it's to allow plants to absorb maximum sunlight carry out photosynthesis. Now, one difference between the response shown by the shoot and the response shown by the root. Now, for this question, the answer scheme gave root's response as negative photo. Or for this one, I'm so sorry, please write positive phototropism. Always remember to include positive or negative. So this one I'm going towards sunlight, so it's a positive phototropism. Now, for the answer scheme, as I was saying just now, this one they gave negative photo, which I don't think is correct, because if you look at this, roots are in the soil, which means they are not exposed towards light, meaning they can't respond toward light. So roots go down, actually it's going down here, just you can't see clearly, it's because of gravity. So roots, when they are under the soil, there's no way they can respond towards light. So roots, most of the time, is response to gravity. Most of the time, the questions that we do, and sometimes water. So most of the time, it's gravity. So for this one, I need to write positive geotropism for roots. Okay, so that's the difference we can say. You can say the shoot shows positive phototropism, while root shows negative, positive geotropism. Now explain. So for the explanation, I would say, where are they growing towards? What are they growing towards? So the shoot is growing towards direction of sunlight. So that's the meaning of tropism response. Grow towards direction of the stimulus. So I'm going towards direction of sunlight, while root is growing towards direction of gravity. Yeah, so that's how I explain. So for this question, they want you to explain one difference. So don't go and give two difference. You have to explain the difference. Okay, so that's how you get your 2 marks. Next one, a very common typical question, which is the ripening of fruit lah. So for this question, when you see fruit ripening, right, the hormone involved definitely is your, the question asked already here, it's right here, ethylene. The hormone present in a container. So this is the hormone that plants uses to stimulate ripening of fruit. So as the fruit start to ripen, let's leave it to the next question. They ask, explain how the method is used by farmer to stimulate the ripening of mango. So you can see here there's only one ripe mango, and the others are unripe. So how this method can stimulate the unripe mangoes to ripen as well. So as a fruit start to ripen, right, like a banana for example, or in this question a mango, they will start to release ethylene. Now ethylene, this hormone is in the form of gas, so it will start to release to surrounding. Now since this is in a closed container, the ethylene gas will be trapped inside the container, so this gas will be more exposed towards the unripe mangoes as well, and then stimulate them to ripen. So that's what you're going to say. Okay, ripe mangoes secretes ethylene. So you mentioned ethylene, you get 1 mark. Okay, actually this question, ethylene, yeah, usually you mention ethylene, that's the main thing. They release ethylene. And next thing you can say, this closed container traps the ethylene, causing the other mango to be exposed to the ethylene and then stimulate to ripen. Okay, now I'm going to add one more point here to be safe. Closed container traps ethylene hormone in it, so causing, carry it down here, causing unripe mangoes to be more exposed to ethylene. Okay, go ahead and write yourself. Now for question 6, I think I will skip this question because last year there was one for chapter 12. You came on neurons as well last year, so I think this one you can try to do yourself Okay, answers, if you don't know where to find, okay, for the answers and this question, I will post the link in the description. I forgot to mention earlier just now, so you'll be there, so you can go and look at it yourself. So this one I think I will skip. Now question 7, form 4, chapter 9. Now your this nutrition digestion question. 2 years didn't come out already. 2021, 2022, which I think this question more likely will come in essay. But never mind, we practice one structure here. Now based on 7.1 mean, so digestive system this question. Liver, of course, what else is this? State the function of X in lipid digestion. Now liver have quite a few functions actually. But in this question, they want, in terms of lipid digestion, what does it do? So read the question carefully. Those be hantam function, alright? Question, read carefully. So for lipid digestion, liver actually secretes something called, bile. Now this bile thingy, what does it do? Now if you don't know, you can write this down first before I explain, which will say emulsify lipids into lipid droplets. Now, this word is very important, it's a keyword. Don't say digest, don't even say breakdown. Emulsify and digest is two different things, not the same thing. And of course, don't say breakdown, definitely wrong. The meaning of emulsify is just something like breakdown, which you make the fats into smaller pieces so that, that's why they say droplets, so that you have larger surface area to be digested by the lipase enzyme. So lipid is digested by the enzyme lipase into fatty acids and the glycerol. So the digestion actually occurs here. So bile will be transported by the bile duct into here to emulsify them so that they can be then digested easily, have a larger surface area. So you can add one more point here. To provide larger total surface area for digestion total. So maximum you can write up to 3 marks. I know this is just a 1 mark question, but I always give you extra marks in case you need it. Next one. Structure X also involves in assimilation process of nutrient. Okay, now they ask assimilation. So that's the second thing that liver does, assimilation. Compare the assimilation process that occurs in X and body cells. The assimilation meaning metabolism, meaning what do you do with your nutrients, absorb, what you will use the nutrients for. Like for example, liver, there are 2 nutrients being transported there, glucose and amino acids. Right, so what does liver do with your absorbed glucose and amino acid from your food? Is called assimilation. So for this question, they ask about glucose. So we're going to talk about glucose here. Did they? Oh, the BM already mentioned glucose. So we're going to answer glucose, the assimilation process of glucose. Okay, big problem here. Is SBP paper. So number 1, body cells and liver, when they receive excess glucose, they are able to convert it into glycogen and then store it. So this process is carried by a hormone called insulin, which most of you should know by now. But the difference here is, right, there are only one type of cells that can convert excess, they can store the glycogen. Okay, not every cell can store glycogen. Okay, give you 3 seconds to think. So the cells that can store glycogen are actually only muscle cells. So that's the difference here. Glycogen, can be stored in liver, but only muscle cells can store glycogen. So that's the difference. Because muscle cells are cells that need a lot of energy, a lot of sugar. So they need to have backup sugar in case you need it. Like let's say you suddenly decided to run. So you need to convert the glycogen to glucose immediately so that your muscle can use. So that's why muscle cells, they can store glycogen. Okay? And the next question, explain the effect of formation of scarred cells on the detoxification process that happens in structure. So this question, this diagram shows you a problem regarding the liver, which is a very common liver problem called liver cirrhosis. When you see liver like chacat, there are a lot of wrinkles, that's definitely liver cirrhosis. So liver cirrhosis is usually caused by excessive detoxification. It means your liver worked too hard to detox what do you intake? So usually, of course, alcohol consumption lor. Okay, you eat a lot of those kind of processed food lor, smoke a lot lor. Okay, so now when you have liver cirrhosis, basically your liver cannot detox anymore. Your liver cells cannot work, cannot function to carry detoxification. So that is the third function we learned about liver today. Okay, so emulsify lipids, produce bile, emulsify lipids, assimilation, and detox. So this one is related to detox because the question got asked here, detoxification process. So you can say, oh, toxic substance cannot be detoxified. So toxic substance like alcohol, like dirty kind of poison things that you eat, like those kind of barbecue food, those kind of black color burnt stuff that you eat. So those things cannot be detoxified. They will accumulate in your body, and then your blood, what we call as poisoning of blood, also your blood becomes very dirty lah, and then you will die lah basically. Okay, next question. The following statement is about Mrs. B, who is 40 years old. So the lifestyle here is computer programmer. So computer programmer don't really move a lot. He's like a typical office worker. Height of 151 cm and a mass of 85 kg. That's obviously overweight. Fast food lover such as burger, company drinks, and cake. So this is definitely the easiest one to explain. Also, no matter who you are, this is no good, right? So they ask, based on the statement, justify the eating habits and lifestyle. So obviously, you got to justify, meaning you got to say whether is it good or bad. So definitely it's an unhealthy eating habit and lifestyle. You can start with that lor. So you can explain why is it unhealthy. So the answer here, mainly you can focus more on eating habits because that's the main thing here. Which number one, you can say the eating habit here, burger, carbonated drinks, cakes. So two main nutrients here that are in excess, of course, is fats, carbohydrate. So these two is the most unhealthiest nutrient. Usually when people eat unhealthy, it's these two they eat in excess. Carbohydrates and lipids. So start with that lor. Because too much carbohydrates and lipids. So mention the consequence. Right? So what does too much carbohydrate does? What does too much lipid does? So basically diabetes lor, obesity lor. Lipid basically give you like those kind of cardiovascular disease, heart attack, your blood vessel clog, those kind lor. Okay. Right, so again, you can just pause and go through yourself right now. And then our final structural question, this will be the last question for this part 1 video lah. Now, this is Form 5, Chapter 8. Got mixed a bit Form 5, Chapter 10. Which Form 5, Chapter 10, very important half of this here. Chapter 9 also lah. So, question 1, state the niche of bacteria X based on the statement in diagram 8.1. So the niche meaning the role. Meaning the role of an organism in the ecosystem. So bacteria, they only have one role. They act as a decomposer. Meaning decompose dead stuff. Predict what will happen to the environment if bacteria X is absent. So number 1, bacteria are decomposers. So whenever something dies, a plant or an animal or even human dies, the dead body will eventually break down, decompose after a certain period of time. That's because bacteria and other decomposers as well, they feed on their dead organisms. So that's what decomposer means. So without decomposers, without bacteria, basically dead organism cannot be decomposed and the dead body will be there forever. So let's say imagine you see like a dead dog over here. Without decomposer, 10 years later you come back, the dog is still there. But of course now it's not just one dead dog. There will be hundreds of dead dogs because more and more animals will die. So basically dead bodies will accumulate, so causing build up of dead organism. That's obviously not good because very messy, very dirty. And number 2 is decomposer breaks down dead organism and they release something called ammonium. Which ammonium is very important nutrients for plants because plants rely on ammonium for nitrogen. If you remember the nitrogen cycle. So it's a very important nutrient. That's why we always use dead plants, animal waste as fertilizer because these things are being decomposed to produce ammonium, which is like nutrients for plant. So therefore we will say nutrients not returned to soil, plant lesser nutrients. Next. Okay, basically this is really the Form 5 Chapter 9 as well, this thing. Form 5 Chapter 9. It's a bit of Chapter 8 only, actually. Mainly it's Chapter 9, got Chapter 9 here also. Yeah, there's a lot of chapter 9 here actually. Chapter 8 is just the first question. Now, anyways, if you don't understand how this thing works or what's the meaning of this, this actually decomposes, basically balance up the food chain. So we know our food chain, we have producer, we have the primary consumer, herbivores, we have secondary consumer, and then we have tertiary consumer. Now, if you look at this food chain, right, producer provides for everyone, but no one provides to them in return. So the decomposer will balance this whole thing. So whenever something dies, decomposer will decompose them into ammonium and then return it to the soil, because dead things die on the soil, so it will be absorbed by the soil, and then it will be nutrients for plants to grow. And then this cycle go back to where it begins, so back to the plants. Okay. Next, diagram 8.2 shows organism Y, which is classified into kingdom of fungi, fungus. 3 similarities between organism Y and bacteria X. So fungus and bacteria. Similarities. Now both of them are basically decomposers, right? Here is bacteria, they decompose dead stuff. Fungus, if you remember, they grow on dead stuff. So they are decomposers. Now, decomposers are also known as saprophytes. So the first two, they are related. Both are saprophytes, both are decomposers. Now, for those who don't know what are saprophytes are basically organisms that grow on dead organisms. Like fungus, they grow on dead trees. Bacteria, they grow and feed on dead living things. Okay, so decomposers. Now, if you're asking now, what's the difference between saprophyte and decomposers? So, saprophytes are type of nutrition. Decomposer is the niche of the organism. Meaning, saprophyte is a type of nutrition, meaning the method of an organism obtaining nutrients. How do you obtain nutrients? So for human, we are known as holozoic, meaning we need to open mouth and eat. We eat things. We don't grow on something that is dead. Okay? So the third one is called parasitism. So there are 3 kinds of nutrition: parasitism, you have saprophytism, and then you have holozoic. Holozoic is the most common one, animals, us law. Okay? Then niche decomposer. So basically, saprophytes are decomposers since they grow on dead stuff, meaning you break down dead stuff. Okay, so they are decomposers. And the last one, they both do not carry out photosynthesis. So they can't produce their own food. You can say that also. Okay? And our final one is a Form 5 chapter. So this one, they mix a bit of 8, 9, 10. Which 9 and 10 this year quite important. So Form 5 chapter 10 here, they ask, they show you a species that is going to extinct, a tiger, I assume. Yeah, this is the Malayan tiger. So they say, okay, so read the question. Propose arguments that support ex situ conservation to control the Malayan tiger population in Malaysia from extinction. Now, this is under the topic 10.2, what we call as preservation. Then you have conservation. And also you have, what's the last one? Preserve, conserve, restoration. Almost forget. Okay. Conserve, meaning, okay, preserve, I talk about preserve first now. So preserve basically is how do you prevent something from hurting the endangered species. So the most common preservation method will be for gazette forest reserve. Okay, do a bit of relation here. So that's the meaning of preserve. So how do you protect something? Okay, so preservation meaning, right, you don't let people touch the jungle, so you just protect it. So that is meaning of preservation. So the second one is how do you make sure people don't touch the forest? So basically you enforce stricter laws. So these two can help preserve the environment, preserve species, meaning, so remember, preservation means how you prevent people from harming them. Now conserve, right, is efforts that human, of course, make to fix something that is broken. Like animals are going to extinct. So what effort that we can do to make sure the population can increase? So preservation can't increase the population because they are dying. So preservation means you don't let people touch them. So now how can we intervene into this natural environment to make sure that species can live better? I don't know what I'm saying. Fuck. And the last question is a Form 5 Chapter 10 question. So this question they make is about 8, 9, 10, but 8, 9 and 10 will be more important this year because 8 came out last year already and 10 is very common. So 9 and 10 Now this they ask about propose, we still read the question, arguments that support XC2 conservation to control the Malayan tiger population in Malaysia from extinction. Now this is under 10.2, what we call as preservation, conservation, and restoration. Restoration. Okay, let's go through a bit what all this means. So preservation meaning what can we do to preserve the environment, to stop humans from further harming, threatening the environment. So there are two very common preservation methods. Number one, you gazette forest reserve, meaning you don't let people go in the forest to harm the natural environment. And then second is you enforce stricter laws, meaning you don't let people, prevent people from going to the jungle. So yeah, make sure you, like for example, whoever goes to the jungle and cut trees, you chop off their hand, and then people scared. Now conservation is efforts that we humans put in to fix what has been broken. Like how can we help the animals? How can we make sure their population increase? Like for example, this tiger over here. So conservation, you have in and XC2. Okay, let's talk about XC2 first. So X meaning outside. So XC2 meaning you remove the species from its original habitat. You move it out from its original habitat as X outside. Okay, so we can keep this animal in a controlled environment, basically like zoos, those kind of facilities that help take care of animals, okay, like pandas for example. So tigers also, they will do the same. So now you explain. Now how you, by bringing them out from their habitat, keeping in the places like zoo, can help them. So here I explain by saying usually this kind of XC2 conservation will have breeding facilities, means you help them to breed because they're going to extinct anymore. So you must help them to reproduce, put a male and female and then ask them to make baby right now. Next, by taking them out from its natural environment, you further prevent them from dying. Like for example, you keep them safe from hunting, poachers, and predators. So of course, this is not just tigers so there are other animals that are prey that might be victim from predators. So these are the things that we can say Okay, so there's XC2. You bring them out, you take care of them, breed them, and keep them safe. So those are the two explanations. Okay, let me talk a bit about in situ as well. So if you ask about in situ, what's the importance? What is the benefit of it? So in situ is you keep the species in its natural environment. So you don't take it out from its natural habitat. So the benefit of in situ is the animal will be more happy because they live in their natural habitat. Like for example, every day if you can live in your room, don't need to come out when you're so happy. You just stay inside your room, play your games, right? So yeah, for in situ you can say species are kept in its natural habitat. Now because some species they grow better in its natural habitat. Yeah, because some species you remove them from their natural habitat, they might not survive as well, they might die. So this is the risk of XC2 Okay, so that will be it for our part 1 video. Part 2 will be up very soon. Now part 2 essay is quite important. So you do not want to miss that. So I'll see you guys very, very soon. Bye bye.